So you've probably heard about the CallMeCarson drama. I wanted to make a video quickly because I'm seeing a lot of hysteria on Twitter. A lot of people who are not thinking about this situation in a nuanced way. People who are seeing things as black and white. And especially people who are looking at the law specifically and then just using it for morality. They use the black and white of the law and make arguments about what is good or bad in society, what is moral, just based on the law itself, which is insane. So let's talk about this real quick. So what did this guy do? So summary, CallMeCarson, who as you know is a Minecraft YouTuber, a big YouTuber, had messages with a 17-year-old when he was 19, by the way, is accused of child grooming. Okay, and by the way, child grooming, we say child because that's the definition of the law, and we'll talk about that later. There's a difference between how we talk about children based on the law and in society. I'm not even a lawyer, but you don't even have to be a lawyer to fucking know this. But he's being accused of child grooming, which is also one of his fans, and of sending and receiving pictures from his minor fans. Okay, so first of all, let's look at what this chick says. So there are two right now. So we know that one of them was 17 and while he was 19. Okay, by the way, let's not forget that a really important fact. He wasn't 60, right? She wasn't 4. She was 17 and he was 19. Okay, so she's the one that approaches him first. So let's see what she says. I can personally come out and say that I've been groomed by Carson. I have talked to many people and never came out about this since now. At the time, I was still 17 and in high school. Okay, so that's the first tweet that we see here. I jokingly tweeted at Carson be my boyfriend on my old account. He didn't reply to the tweet and went straight to my DMs. I don't have old SS, don't even know what the fuck that means, but I have Discord messages. Alright, so there's a lot of Discord messages. I'm not gonna look at them because there's a lot of them. Go look at the messages yourself if you're interested in reading that boring shit. But the messages are like pretty awkward and boring. Carson is not forcing her to do anything. People are calling him manipulative. How the fuck is he manipulative? Like, give me a specific example of him being manipulative. To me, the way these texts read, they just read as some awkward dude who is interested in some girl because she's good looking, and this girl who's also interested in him. So I said there's a difference between the law and how we view things as society. Okay, the law. She is a child according to the law because the law, if you're above 18, you're an adult. If you're under 18, you're a child. So people are saying now, oh, he had lewd conversations with a child. He received pictures from a child. She is a teenager. She's about to be an adult. She's mature. She is pretty much the same, almost the same age as him, which means that the maturity level is on par. It is very similar. These same people are going to say that it's awful that this guy talked to her because she was a minor, and then let's say she's 17 and turns 18 in one day. Well, she's still 17, she's still a minor, it's super immoral, and the next day, then everything is fine. Everything is absolutely perfectly fine, and their argument is never, well, the law says you shouldn't do it, so don't do it. No, their argument is, well, it's illegal according to the law, therefore what you are doing is extremely immoral. No, you fucking crazy maniac. 17-year-olds are minor according to the law, okay? They're children. A minor is a child according to the law, but when we talk about children in society, who do you picture in your head when I say a child? Do you picture a 17-year-old? Or do you picture someone who's like 4 or 5, right? That's what you picture in your head when you say a child. So when you hear people say Carson groomed a child, get the fuck out of here and groomed. Okay, so first of all, let's look at the definitions of children, okay? A child is a human being between the stages of birth and puberty. Alright, does that mean 17-year-old? No. Type in child on Google Images. What kind of images do you see? Do you see a teenager who's 17 about to be 18? No. My point is, stop saying that Carson is a child groomer. Because he's not. Because she was not a child. She was 17 years old, okay? And now let's look at grooming. What does grooming mean? Grooming is when someone builds a relationship, trust, and emotional connection with a child or young person, so they can manipulate and exploit and abuse them. Is this what seems to have occurred here, right? She's the one that reached out to him. They had a conversation. They were 2 years apart. Yes, pictures were shared, but you know what? The age of consent, depending on what state or province you're in, sometimes is under 18. Sometimes it's 16 and above. She was 17. And where he lives, which is in Indiana, the age of consent is actually 16. So you're telling me that it's okay to have sex when you're 17 and 19, but it's not okay to send pictures of each other. Well, that makes sense. So you can only see each other naked, and if you put the wee-wee inside the fish, but otherwise, then it's immoral. You see how the law and morality is not the same here? These are technicalities in terms of the law. It's stupid. And the outrage over CP is dumb as fuck. First of all, CP should not be the right name because she's not a child, right? When you say CP, what does that imply? It implies people who are like really young, like 5, 3, 2 years old. That's what it implies. So when people say, oh, Carson received CP, it makes him seem like a P word, which is inaccurate. Let's talk about the law again. So let's say that it's not even legal for these two to have had sex. Let's say they did not, okay? Is it immoral for a 17-year-old to have sex with a 19-year-old? How many 17-year-olds have had sex with 19-year-olds throughout history? How many? Was that immoral? If you say yes, yes, because the government drew an arbitrary imaginary line where when you're 18, suddenly everything's okay and before that it's absolutely immoral, then you're fucking dumb. Now, people often say, okay, well, that's all fine, the age is not too different, but there's power dynamics and manipulation. All right. Like I said, manipulation, show me exactly where he manipulated her. And from inherently being in a quote-unquote position of power because he's an influential public figure, that does not necessarily equal manipulation. There has to be a manipulative action done. Now, going back to the power dynamics, in all relationships, there are power dynamics. For example, should a rich person never date a poor person because they're in a position of power? Would that be reasonable? I don't think that's reasonable. There's a lot of debates about if bosses should date their employees. I think it's fine because adults are adults. Like in this case, yes, they're not adults, but we're just talking about power dynamics here. I think it's fine. I think if the boss uses his position to do something wrong, then it's that action that is wrong. It's not the relationship itself. Just because someone is an employer and a person is an employee, if they both love each other, you would say that because there's a power dynamic here, you two are not allowed to love each other. How about we stop trying to interfere in people's relationships? How about we do that? I'll give you another example. Celebrities, actors. Should they not be allowed to date non-actors, non-celebrities, nobodies, Joe Blows? Because there's a power dynamic and there could be manipulation? Should politicians not be allowed to date citizens who are not politicians themselves because they're a position of power? Should bankers not be allowed to date someone who's a client of that bank? Should a student in university who is, let's say, 25 years old, let's say a PhD student, not have a relationship with a professor from another faculty? We're going to switch faculties here because there's obviously a conflict of interest when it comes to grades, I understand that, but there's still a power dynamic here. If one student from, I don't know, anthropology, who is a PhD student, dates the philosophy professor, is that wrong? There's a power dynamic. He's a higher social status than her. So yes, I do think that YouTubers are allowed to develop relationship with our fans. And if something immoral happens, like manipulation, for example, then it's that specific action which is immoral and that we should condemn. It's not the fact that there's just a relationship that exists where someone's a nobody and the other person has power. Power means nothing if there's no specific action taken using that power in an immoral way. Okay? Chill the fuck out. Regarding the specific situation of that 17-year-old coming out, I think it's actually disgusting that she would come out like this and create drama and ruin a man's life when she is the one that went to him. She consented to everything. She didn't feel forced or anything like that. That's absolutely not, I don't think that's even the allegations from what I've read. She like pretty much had like a relationship, no matter how you want to call that. They weren't boyfriend girlfriends, but they had a thing, right? They were talking. And then all of a sudden, I guess she changed her mind, or I don't know what the fuck happened. Maybe she's going after clout. Who knows why she does that? But then she just decides to destroy someone's life. So now what's going to happen is YouTubers or anyone who is in the public is not going to want to talk at all to their fans, especially not fans of the opposite sex. Even if these two persons would be completely compatible and could find the love of their life, hypothetically, because of bullshit like this, of dumb bitches who changed their mind and decided to destroy people and Twitter, the Twitter mob, the smartest people on the internet, Twitter, with the cockroach Keemstar from Drama Alert, destroying lives. We're canceling people and destroying lives, accusing people of being a P-word for absolutely ridiculous things, which, by the way, Zoe Laverne was 19 when she kissed a 13-year-old and she had an emotional relationship with him, and people stopped talking about that probably because she's a woman, she's a girl, and the 13-year-old was a guy. That's much worse than the one that we're seeing now, which should not be a big deal at all. It seems like, especially Twitter, and just the mob generally, we are so bored that every month, I would say, we are willing to sacrifice someone on the altar. Bring on the next sacrifice. Every single time. It's time to be outraged. We've not been outraged enough. No one is reasonable anymore. There's no nuance. It's only black and white. And not thinking about issues in terms of ethics, but thinking of issues in terms of what the law says. The arbitrary line that the law draws. As if the law always means that things are moral or immoral. That's fucking retarded. And people were gonna accuse me of being a Carson fanboy. I don't even watch his content. I've never watched his content. I barely knew who this dude was. Like, I've seen his face before. I've kind of heard about him before, but I'm not a fan. And I just don't like when I'm seeing a man's life getting destroyed over ridiculous, absolute bullshit like that. Now, okay, that chick that made the allegation, now she says that it's no longer appropriate to call him a P-word. Well, you already did call him a P-word, but okay, now she says, after seeing Keem's video, wow, what an intellectual heavyweight. She needs to see Keemstar's video to realize that she was wrong about something. Keemstar, oh my, anyways, I'm not even gonna rant about that turd, but I used the word in the wrong context and would like to apologize. I'm sorry if I offended or hurt anyone by using the word incorrectly. Also, why am I not surprised that these allegations come from someone who looks like this? Why is it always the feminist with the pink hair that all of a sudden changes her mind and does not take responsibility for her action, pretends that she has no agency and that she's a victim? Why is it always the one that looks like this? Anyways, so now she is the victim, so let's see here. I don't want Carson to go to jail, even though she called him a P-word. I don't want Carson to be cancelled over this. Well, what did you expect? I want people to be educated. I want there to be safety. Safety. You were safe, lady. You were just talking to someone who was only 2 years older than you, and you decided to go after him, and you decided to send him pics, but you were unsafe, okay? I want people to feel safe with people they enjoy watching or look up to. Alright. I want this to be over. Yeah, she's the victim now. This is a fucking mess. I just want people... Okay, shut up. Cancel... Okay, now she's condemning cancel culture. Cancel culture is real, but this statement was to warn others. I do hope the best for everyone involved in this, but fuck, you guys are ruthless. What did you expect? You're trying to ruin a man's life with ridiculous allegations, and now that people are calling you out for being a ridiculous person, for trying to portray him as a P-word and a manipulative groomer, because no, that's the word you used, and now people are pushing back and now you're sad. My mental health is in ruins. This fan base is a mess, but you see how she's constantly the fucking victim. You see, she doesn't take responsibility for her actions ever, at all, and now she's still the victim. Like, I don't even know how this chick is. She looks probably like 18 now, I don't know. But I don't give a shit. You're gonna be treated like a mature person because you're not a fucking child anymore. This still doesn't justify his actions though. Like I said, it's incredible that she never speaks about her own actions. She only speaks about the actions of Carson. There are two people involved in this drama here. There's you and him. You both sent pictures to each other. You went after him first. And let me just say here, this is not victim blaming because she is not the victim in this case. Absolutely not. She had agency. She was a mature teenager. She knew what she was doing. People who are 17 sometimes are in year 1 of university, okay? They aren't fucking dumb. And it's incredible that the same people that are gonna say, oh, this was a child. Carson was an adult, so therefore he is responsible for all this. At the same time, these are the same people that want 16-year-olds to vote in elections. It's the same leftists that are gonna make that argument, that are unreasonable. But at least the commentary community is not being absolutely insane on this, okay? It's more the Twitter mob. So for example, Moist Critical is seeing this the same way that I'm seeing this. However, for being reasonable, a Twitter asshole came out and tried to condemn him. Check this out. It makes me so sad seeing one of my favorite content creator, Moist Critical, defend illegal possession of child pee and minor grooming. It is illegal. Fuck you guys for defending him. See what I'm saying? They just talk about the law. They don't talk about morality itself, these fucking idiots. Twitter is special kind of evil. I never said anything like that. In a 30-second stream clip of the first 2 tweets, I read and said it's not P-word to be in a 19 and 17-year-old relationship. That's literally the same grade in high school.
Literally not pedophilia. So go after him for having child something. Like that's what you should be focusing on, not doing your best to throw like a ton of different things at it. Because it's not pedophilia. That's all I'm saying. I'm not defending I don't know why I keep getting accused of that just because I'm saying that fact. Thanks to Prime, Frag King, and Carrie in the gift sub Hagen. He's 21. He was 19! And she was 17, which is literally the same high school grade. I was 17 as a high school senior. Half my class was 19, the other half was 17 and 18. And this is... hopefully this doesn't get the school taken down, but if you can believe it, some of the 19-year-olds were dating the 18 and 17-year-olds. That's pretty normal shit. What's not normal is getting from a bunch of 17-year-olds and keeping it. That's where it's bad.
When people say that you should pick your friends carefully, that's a very important statement. Here's why. So this dude was part of Lunch Club, which is the same club that Carson was in. Created content with Carson and was a friend, okay? Now look at this statement. It starts with, Carson has been engaged in illegal activity with minors. And then, to be clear, targeting a minor for grooming, sexting, and other inappropriate or unwanted sexual advances is illegal and disgusting. You see how... This guy is obviously doing this for himself. Like, this is a perfect example of showing someone throwing someone else under the bus for themselves. This is a pure virtue signal. He's being completely politically correct here. He's being a Mr. Obvious here. Like, of course, we all know this to be true. Like, why do you have to reiterate it? It's ridiculous. Okay, but let's go on. Okay, so he says that he got a phone call, that he had exchanged nudes with an unnamed girl he believed to be 17. Okay, now look at this dude. Because I suspected a crime had been committed, I immediately reported this information to federal law enforcement. This guy is nuts! 17 and 19. If your friend was 19, received pictures from a 17-year-old, would that be your first reaction? To call the police, to call the federal police. to snitch on him. Dude! The first top comment is 2-year gap. Come on, man. Yeah, exactly. This guy is absolutely insane. And I'm telling you, this guy probably has something to hide. To, like, be this proactive? To be this strong of a snitch? Usually, I'm telling you, you can sense these kinds of people. There are the kind of people who exaggerate on everything, right? Who blow shit up like this. Like, oh, as soon as I heard it, I quit and called the police immediately, even though it's 2-year gap. You know that these people are the same people that mistreat women, right? The same people who are into really weird fucking sexual stuff and have a lot of skeleton in their closet. So I'm betting that this dude has skeleton in his closet. Alright, I don't know anything. I'm making a guess. For all those asking why I did not speak publicly about these issues at the time, this is not drama. This is an alleged federal felony involving a child. Alright, remember, we just talked about a child. When he makes this statement involving a child, it reads as if this dude received pictures from like 6-year-olds, right? Look at the framing. Framing is extremely important when you read something like this. Framing is a way to change the narrative using these special words to try to make a situation seem worse or less worse, right? Because if he had said this is potentially a crime involving a 17-year-old, if he put the word 17, the number 17, then it wouldn't have been perceived as bad. But this dude is really using framing to try to make him look like a turd. And by the way, this is exactly what politicians do and PR people do. They spin things. This dude is like spinning this shit. As soon as I knew about this, I took every step to protect the unnamed victim. Okay, look at the word, very important. Victim. Was she really a victim? The word used is victim here, okay? Alright, here you go. A crime should be treated as a crime. Really. So this guy's a lawyer now. This guy's the police. He knows that this is a crime, right? He's not saying, I think this might have been a crime. No, he's saying, this crime should be treated as a crime. If you or any loved one is ever in a similar situation, I strongly encourage you to take similar actions and report this to the relevant authorities. How does this read? Does this read that this girl was 17 and 19? No. No person should ever have to be the victim of something like this. Bro, how does this read? I don't know if he wrote this, if he hired a company to write this for him, but this letter makes it seem like Carson is a P-word and a terrible crime occurred, and this is supposed to be his friend. This is like throwing him under the bus and kicking him after and throwing salt on the wound and pouring lemon juice after that in his eyes. Now that's how much of a betrayal this is. It's not only that he called the police for something petty like this, but it's also that now he's making a statement strongly suggesting that Carson is a P-word. And by putting this out there, it's almost as if he's encouraging people to see Carson as a P-word. That's how it reads. But you know that it gets bad with even greasy-haired Destiny, the guy who usually makes absolutely ridiculous arguments, comes out and sees this shit clearly. Look at what Destiny had to say.
I can personally come out and say that I've been groomed by Carson. I have talked to many people at the time, never came out since at the time I was still 17 in high school. Okay, these conversations happened in January, February, March, April of 2019. How old was Carson? Was 19. Was he 19? It wasn't even his birthday. He wasn't even 20. 19-year-old grooming a 17-year-old? Get the fuck out of here, dude.
Anyway, so now there's another chick, right? 17 and Carson was 20 at the time. Same story. They speak, eventually nudes are exchanged. So I think all the arguments that I've made before can apply to this shit as well, right? But again, the cockroach, Keemstar, is the one who broke this fucking story. Anyways, Carson is losing subscribers right now because people are sheep who can't think clearly and can't think for themselves. I'm here to tell you my opinion is that this is not a big deal at all. There should not be drama like this. A lot of the arguments that you see on Twitter are absolutely ridiculous. And by the way, none of these have even been proven. We've not even seen Carson come out and say anything. Who knows, maybe it will get worse, or maybe all of this is fake. Or maybe some of these chicks have left something out, and that would not surprise me because they do appear to be clout chasers. Why else would you come out and say this? It's not like they've been harmed in any way, or anything along those lines. They're just telling a story about a popular dude because people are gonna look at them and give them attention. That's why I think that they did it. But anyways, that's just my opinion. Of course, you can't say that about women because, you know, respect women. Anyways, guys, I'm out. I usually don't make videos like this. I try to keep it light, but this drama just pissed me off so much. If only the people who are outraged speak about this and people who are on Carson's side shut up, then people are just gonna assume that everyone is against him, which it's not true. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe, fuck you.